Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please join me in a pledge of the flag. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Next order of business, do you approve the order of the agenda, commissioners?
I'll make a motion to approve. There's no changes.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Eric. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is the approval of the minutes of our last meeting, June 18th. They've been distributed. Any additions or corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mark. Been moved. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Brad. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Building permits. Questions? Okay. Chair would entertain a motion.
I'll move. Accept them.
Moved by Brad. Second, please.
I'll second.
Second by Eric. Moved and seconded. All those in favor accept the building permits as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the items in the consent agenda.
Mayor, may I ask just a question on?
Certainly.
Tina, on item, I'm sorry I didn't ask you earlier, but on item number D, the Environmental Health Services contract with Fargo Public Health, I think I read that there's no cost associated with that, but it's just an agreement to utilize them for inspection services, and I trust they would charge whomever they're inspecting probably a fee.
That is correct. Yep, this is totally different from the services that we had before, correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure we weren't hopping back on that boat again.
Nope, we're not, we would not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thorstad. There are a couple of changes. We're going to remove regular agenda item number 5, review the West Fargo events contract. It's incomplete with some information. And then also up on the consent agenda, we are going to add contracts for districts 4064 and 1318, which is underground work by Dakota Underground. Chair would entertain a motion to accept.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner.
As written and changed.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Seconded by Mike. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Moving on to the regular agenda. We have a public hearing and first reading for the Tevye addition and rezoning from A, agriculture, to R1A, single-family dwelling. Tim.
Thank you, Your Honor and Commissioners. We received this application to accommodate the development of a new residential dwelling. The application here wishes to construct just one home on the existing approximate 10-acre piece of land. Further, they'd like to keep the existing primary structure to be used as a guest house, which can be accommodated through city ordinance, as long as, if split in the future, the structure could meet zoning district standards. This is provided in a site plan. Typically, I wouldn't give you a site plan for just a zoning change. However, I wanted to provide to you what they're actually going to do, and that was provided by the applicant. The applicant has within the lot also a 2,800 square foot storage building. This would be considered a legal non-conforming structure if approved. The owner would be able to maintain but not enlarge or rebuild the structure above 1,000 square feet. Our R1A district standards do not allow accessory structures greater than 1,000 square feet. We can't accept it as a legal non-conforming structure, however. The proposed plat here provides the city with the required 75 feet of right-of-way for the arterial roadway. Results of the Cheyenne corridor study recently completed do not indicate a need for additional right-of-way beyond this. We don't anticipate 6 lanes of road here like we have north of 32nd, so 75 feet gives us 150 feet total. Typically, that's more than adequate for a 4-lane section of roadway, urban roadway. The access location has been shown as aligning with 50th Avenue West to the east of this and moving it from its existing location. That would be a favorable condition to have accesses lined up in case we have a median or something like that on this 4-lane roadway. It would allow for either a 3/4 or a full access at that location. Park dedication is not required as there is no increased intensity proposed with development. If the applicant were to choose, they could seek park amenities or connections or fee in lieu at this time. However, staff does not believe them to be required because it is a 1-lot development turning into another 1-lot development. Comp plan does not oppose nor does it support the proposed development. Development intensity is not increased as a result of the subdivision. The applicant has been made aware of the implications related to special assessments as a result of the large lot. These were also outlined a little bit during the public hearing at Planning Commission. Just to kind of give you a little bit more background, similar large lots within this area have been assessed for projects such as 32nd Avenue, 40th Avenue, 52nd Avenue. This would also be assessed for Cheyenne Street. So a large lot will see larger assessments. We just want to make sure that the applicant is very aware of that when they're developing this, that even though they may build a nice house on here, there will be improvement implications to them being such a large lot. They have indicated that that's not a concern, but I do want to make sure that I make note of that during public hearing. At the June 12th, 2018 meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission did approve the subdivision and rezoning subject to the 7 conditions noted in the staff report. Representative of the applicant is here and available for any questions, as am I. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Commissioners, any questions?
I do, Tim. One question is, I know it's over 10 acres, so it's a pretty nice sized lot. Is there any way, I realize he's putting a home on it now, one large home, can he, in the future, subdivide that up without coming back to us? And because R1A, I mean, he could probably have how many actual homes on that lot if he was, say, to develop it?
If he's going to provide homes within this development for resale, he would have to come back before this body for a subdivision. We do allow more than one primary structure per lot owned by that same person. He couldn't rent them out or anything like that. It's got to be a single family dwelling. However, each one of those has to be able to sit on its own within a redevelopment. The reason he's able to keep that second house on there is because it's a single family lot. He's not renting it out. It's just a guest house. So if they were to want to build more homes on that, it would be before you again as a subdivision.
Have we done something like this before?
Not typically in town. We have done it out of town in our extraterritorial jurisdiction, and you know, maybe a person wants to have a house for their son or daughter on the same lot, something like that.
You're comfortable with this, though?
It's not a matter of if I'm comfortable it's legal per our own subdivision ordinance. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't think it's a good idea to have a large lot like this along Cheyenne Street with the amount of specials that may come with it. But the applicant has indicated that's not a concern for them. The density is not increased or decreased. It's really just a matter of status quo, just building a bigger house on it. We're very careful to make sure the applicant is understanding what this could be for cost to them, and it's been told to us it's not a concern. So.
Are we getting something in writing signed so that we, 5 years from now, 10 years, we're covered?
I can't guarantee they won't be here. Sorry to interrupt you, Commissioner.
That's okay.
I can't guarantee they won't be here when Cheyenne Street comes through and there's a major assessment to their property. The only thing we can do is sign an affidavit. I don't know that they were aware, potentially. Yeah.
I mean, what happens, I guess, you know, in theory, if we allow this and they can't afford those specials, or then obviously that land comes, I would assume, to the city. I don't think that's something we want to deal with either, do we? I mean, I don't know. I just think we should have some kind of safeguard. Maybe not, I'm wrong. I'd like some input from the rest of the commission. And from you, Tim.
I gave you my feelings, and I've been very upfront with the applicant about that as well. But again, there's only so much a person can do. It's a very appealing site. It's surrounded by trees. It's 8 acres within town. We just don't have anything within our own laws to prevent a person from doing such.
Sarah, is there anything, I guess I would feel much more comfortable, at least if we had something in writing saying that they're going to pay the specials, or they're, I mean, I'm sure they will, but if something happens, what do we do, I guess? What's our...
Well, if they own the property now, there's really no change whether they keep it the same or if they develop it. I mean, either way, they're going to be responsible for any specials that are assessed. So, I mean, I don't think you can make an agreement that says that they're agreeing to the amount of any future. I mean, you could sign some, they could sign some sort of acknowledgement, but even if this redevelopment goes away, they would still own the parcel and still have to pay them.
So I guess, and then I'm okay. That was my question. Are we giving them any impression that, you know, if we okay this, are we giving them any impression, I guess, that, whatever, I don't know.
So the applicants own it right now?
Yes, they do.
Are being assessed accordingly?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And there hasn't been a lot of development in the area.
Right.
I think, Tina, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe 52nd and 40th have been assessed to this property, and maybe some minor stormwater improvements. Nothing major, but we were, you know, we have some examples of properties probably quite a bit larger than this with some major assessments, like $500,000 in assessments. But those are 20 to 30 acre parcels. This is going to be about a 8.6 after right-of-way is.
Right. But the difference, just so Commissioner, you know, is we're going from agricultural to an R1. So we're actually turning it into a residential area, while right now it's basically farming.
They're not farming it.
I mean, agriculture.
Yeah, but,
Agriculture,
There's no farming
I'm saying,
going on
yeah.
down there. If anything, it's just being hayed.
Right.
That.
The recommendation is to approve it though, correct?
Yeah, and I tried to make that clear in our staff report that we don't oppose it, nor do we support it. It's kind of a vague answer, but it's not, it's one for one, really, and it's not changing the development pattern necessarily there. It's rezoning it so that they can build a new house.
Is this property on sewer and water?
It will be. As part of the new house, they need to get sewer and water to the site, which will be a major expense.
Because across the street at 50, it is not on city water or sewer.
They're going to benefit a little bit from the Wilds development. There's some connections they can make within that. To do a new septic system when you're that close to public infrastructure, they can't use the existing one. So it makes sense for them to tie in.
Any other questions, Commissioners? Thank you, Tim. Mr. Radke, would you like to address the Commission? Is he here?
No, member from Chris Hawley Architects is here, so Kendall, do you have anything to add?
Kendall Radke with Chris Hawley Architects, and this is Chris himself. I guess I don't know that we got too much to add. If there's any additional questions or anything like that, we're certainly willing to help shed some light on those.
So, just to clarify a few things, we have talked with the owner extensively about the idea of $500,000 worth of specials at some point, and it was not an issue. Let's just put it that way. So that's all I can really say. I mean, I think he knows that it's coming at some point, but as he thinks about this for, their family for the next, 15, 20 years, that's kind of a long-range plan. He likes to be close to town, close to his business, all of these things. So it's a great thing for them. I don't think the money aspect is an issue at this point. So, that's the takeaway. But
Thank you, Chris.
And I think he would be comfortable recognizing that some of these things may come, and we've already had that conversation. Whether or not it needs to be formal in some way, I think we can visit about that.
Okay, I'm satisfied with that answer.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kendall. Being there's no more questions from the commission, we'll open this up into a public hearing for public comment. Are there any comments? Chair recognizes Frank Lensmeyer.
I won't speak opposing it, but I will share with the commission that when the large subdivision down south that turned out very successful first came in, I was on the planning and zoning, and they came in with large lots, and we advised them from the planning and zoning that they should at least set them up for ghost plotting so it could be split up. It was about 11 or 12 months later they were back in criticizing us on the planning and zoning for not planning properly because they got hit with major special assessments. So at least that it would be in writing, stating this on something like this would make sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Is there any other public comments? Are there any other public comments? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Chair would entertain a motion on this first item.
I guess I'm fine with making a motion to approve, but I would like to add an addendum that says at least they signed something, Sarah, that's acknowledging that future assessments are coming. Just so I know you gentlemen, I think that's fine. He said he'd do it anyway, but let's just have it.
Certainly our minutes can reflect
Certainly.
the commission's concern, that they're aware of what they're facing. So.
Okay, I'll make that motion then, Mayor.
Been moved for approval. Is there a second, please?
I would second that.
Second, Eric. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Tim. Moving on to item number 2. Again, is the first reading for a zoning ordinance amendment to sections 4-01 planning and zoning and 4-02 of the comprehensive plan and 4-302 replacement of official zoning map. Tim Silbert.
Thank you, Your Honor and Commissioners. These proposed edits deal specifically with a swap that we had done recently with the City of Fargo on our extraterritorial jurisdiction. And for the sake of the new commissioners, just to give you a little background on the extraterritorial jurisdiction, the state grants us the authority for zoning and subdivision control within our extraterritorial area. That includes building permits, floodplain development permits, zoning, subdivision. We have that control fully within 2 miles outside of our city limits, only if we adopt it by resolution. If we don't adopt it by resolution, we're not just granted that 2 miles. In the outer 2 miles, beyond our 2 miles, we have what's called a joint jurisdiction, and in that area, the permits, zoning, and subdivision control is by whomever that other entity is, whether it's a township or the county. So we identify that area in our comprehensive plan, so we kind of plan for it, but we really have no jurisdictional authority. Specifically today, as far as our ET is being adopted and our zoning, it would, I don't have a laser pointer, I don't think here we do. The area I'm going to reference is this area right here to the east of County Road 17 that is highlighted on the outside in red, and then County Road 17 there and that line going there. That's been added to our comprehensive plan through this map, and then also added to our zoning map. And in our zoning map, we have it just zoned as ag. We did hold a zoning transition meeting at our last planning commission for state century code requirements. And all these proposed edits deal specifically with that. Not a lot to say. It's ag land. There's no development there, so we're not negatively affecting anybody by going through this. It's really the future process for what they might do. And really, right now we're looking at it as what is considered our suburban restricted growth area. And in that area, if there's going to be development there, it really needs to be kind of thought out before you get there, including how you bring sewer, water, etc., but then also what it may mean for us as a city. So really, a future plan would be required before we would look at any sort of development there, likely. With that, there's a public hearing scheduled. I am available for any questions you may have as well.
We'll close that and open the public hearing. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and return to the order of business. Are there any questions for Tim? Anything at all?
I would like to note to Commissioner Simmons, one comment you made during our comp plan about how easy it is to edit or amend our comp plan. We're doing it right now, so just to show you.
Yep.
It is something we can do. It's
I was concerned about
not written in stone, so.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Chair would entertain a motion. I'll move. Been moved by Brad. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Mike. For item number 2 of the regular agenda, been moved and seconded to approve. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Third item on the regular agenda is the final plot approval of Halverson's Industrial Park, second edition, a replat. Tim?
Thank you, Your Honor, members of the Commission. We received this application to replat property for development purposes. The applicant here is further proposing to vacate a currently undeveloped public road to accommodate his preferred design within their development. City here would retain an easement for access and public utilities to loop into the site. Within the development, also, the city is seeking to develop a regional retention pond to address stormwater issues in the area. Under current regulations, it appears that although land was previously platted, that it would still require fee in lieu of land dedication, as it not yet been developed. So we're working with the applicant there on how we can accommodate that through the stormwater pond and through our vacation of the road. Staff has been directed here to present the plat tonight and provide to you the background on what the vacation will be. The vacation of the road there was 80 feet of right-of-way, which they'll be now taking into their land. You can see it's never been developed there, so this will now be a 3-lot subdivision with the top northernmost lot of that being a retention pond. At their May 8th, 2018 meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved the plat, subject to the conditions noted in the staff report before you. With that, I'm available for any questions, and a representative of the applicant is here as well.
Thank you, Tim. Are there any questions for Tim? Are there any questions of the applicant? Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve, Mayor, with the 6 recommendations.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Been moved. Is there a second?
I'd second that.
Second by Eric. Been moved and seconded to accept item number 3, the final plot approval of Halverson's Industrial Park, second edition, with the 6 recommendations. Is there any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 4, land rezoning request. Jason Brunel.
Your Honor, I'm just pulling up a picture for Mr. Brunel that he had sent for your information. I'm going to let him describe a little bit what he wants to do and be available for any questions as well.
My name is Jason Brunel, and basically it's 5 acres total. I wrote down the dimensions. That's just a drawing that I did on my phone. It's like Onyx Hunt, just an app, just so it was like a visual representation of what I plan. But basically, you know, talking to Tim, it would make, you know, the most sense for future development to keep the 3 acres untouched, you know, there, and then just take like 2 acres. And this is not, it hasn't been surveyed or platted yet, so like I'm just coming before you to present something, but I can change it to whatever would work potentially for that site. But basically I'm looking just to rezone the back portion of that 2 acres to rural estate, and then that matches up to the Willow Creek development there, and that's what that's zoned. So basically that's what I'm requesting here today.
And
Questions, Commissioner?
I'm sorry. And you know that in the past, commissioners, for you new ones, we've done this a few times, Tim, and it's at their own risk. So if it should go to P&Z and they deny it, then he's denied. We're not given any right to do anything tonight. He's just asking for our input as far as are we okay with moving forward, correct, Tim?
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Yeah, the applicant here approached me about this property. Gave him some skepticism because I think that this is next to the Raymond interchange, really an important interchange for the future growth of the city. Looks like to me something that has great potential for commercial development, similar to what Veterans Boulevard looked like 10 years ago when I moved to town. So what I said is, if you're going to get anything like this potentially, even considered, you really need to push it back as far as you could. And I really don't even know then how our commission may consider it, because like we just talked about with the comp plan, this is really a deferred development kind of area. We don't really want to see a lot of development here. So what he proposed was moving that house to the back, leaving the front 3 acres as ag. And I said, well, that's maybe a step in the right direction for compromise. However, you still got to go through the process. The process in his case is going to be costly. He's got to have a surveyor go out there and survey the property, and you might be looking at $10,000 or something like that. Before he goes out and spends that money, I think he wanted to come before this body and just get a general sense. And I don't know that he's even going to be able to get that because there's not a whole lot of information yet. But I wanted to at least give him the opportunity to hear what you think, maybe regurgitate exactly what I just said on the comp plan. I don't know how you may feel about it. But you're right, there's really no promises here.
Is this the assumption that the diversion is going to go through, Tim? Is that part of the the assumptions here, I guess, as far as...
If it were to happen, and I can pull up our comp plan map there for you. This property is within the diversion, so Willow Creek is right around here. That's the interchange that is existing there. This is just to the south of that, so this is within the diversion, making it very, very valuable land, for us.
Yeah, I didn't realize when we spoke that it was within the diversion like this, because, I mean, if we do happen to annex all that in and go that way, that could be another Veterans Boulevard, or that could be another Cheyenne Street at some point. And we made mistakes in the past, quite honestly, on veterans. I'd hate to see us make them again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a challenge I had, and Mark, when we went through that comp plan, we had a lot of discussion with the planning department on that area and how we should handle it, because there's so many unknown variables. Number one, we're assuming the diversion tracks could go like that if it gets the permits and everything else. They haven't done any engineering yet on anything south of the interstate. That could go one way or the other. The drainage could be affected. The other thing we're trying to get over our diversion is some infrastructure put in and stuff like that. So there's so many unknown variables that are still lying out there until there's more engineering done. That's why if it's a single dwelling, I guess I don't want to necessarily say that we want to create a moratorium on everything, but on the other hand, with you're blocking out 5 acres and stuff like that, and like I say, particularly at a potentially high traffic, high interest area, I don't know. I guess I'm certainly not going to say yes or no at this point. I think you'd have to, it'd probably be a risk on your own behalf, putting some money into it and going through the steps up, starting with Tim and the staff and up to planning the zoning and see what happens. But that's my big concern. We just, like I said, we just adopted our comp plan. We kind of put that as an indeterminate area just because we don't know. And we're going to try to avoid, I'll say, in just my opinion, is spot developments where someone's going to drop a house here and own 10 acres with the idea or hope that someday that's going to be a housing development, or, again, any other type of those things. And again, we don't want to say absolutely nothing will ever happen out there, but I think we really have to vet what we want to do long term. And quite frankly, I don't know, again, until I hear exactly what the diversion is going to be, the drainage, and if we're going to have infrastructure that's going to be available. And again, if we even want to attack that area as far as an area to annex and develop sooner than later, I don't know. Those are all questions we don't know, and that's why I guess I can't say, yeah, go ahead with it or don't go ahead with it. I guess you'd have to, proceed at your own risk. And I suggest starting with, again, with getting back to planning guys and then working your way up through the channels.
Mr. Chair, very similar, if it were my $10,000, I wouldn't spend it. And I'm the planner, so I don't really feel comfortable knowing what's gonna happen there. And so I do respect that he really loves this property, but I also want to be upfront, that we really don't know and it's really uncomfortable. So if you want to go through with that process, I wouldn't myself, but that's where you may have something.
I guess in my opinion, I would say that if you want to go through it, go ahead, but I don't think right now you probably got the feeling of the commission, at least of me, and it sounds like Commissioner Thorstad, that we would probably allow this down the road, just because of, again, there's so many variables, we don't know what's happening, and we can't commit to something so, right now.
And my thoughts, on it was basically, like Tim said, it's the survey and the planning, and I contacted 2 engineering firms just to get kind of quotes on the abstract and whatnot, and it sounded like it would be about $4,500 to do it. And then, when they plat it out, when they parcel it out, that's where those lines would be drawn in. So that's why I through talking with Tim, because I really wouldn't even need 2 acres. I could place, an acre or whatever is needed at whatever point. I just thought, with that border on the, on the south side of Willow Creek, since that's already a development that's existing, I'm 100% willing to work within any confines or any plan, because, for a road to go right on the south side, to turn right in, to be parceled off back there in that far corner, because like Tim said, in the next, 10, 15 years, if anything was to ever happen as far as development down that, then I would be, 100% easy to work with, in that, since that wouldn't be touched, nothing would be constructed there. It would be just existing farmland. I would just kind of basically be, taking a little bit of that north chunk just to, put it on there. Because that bypass, I go out, to Jamestown all the time on Interstate 94 and everything, and that would just be it's the perfect location. So when, Neil Thompson agreed, to sell it, to me, those 5 acres, because he just wouldn't sell anything less than 5 acres. So that's why, if that makes sense, that's why I'm going for 5 acres, because he just, said, I won't sell anything less than 5. I don't need that, but that's why I just wanted to work with him with that long rectangle, the dimensions for it. On that map, it's about 871 feet long by 250 feet. So, with those dimensions, we thought, well, it would be less intrusive, or less, it wouldn't affect it as much with extending as far back into those trees. There's a group of trees that it's like a shelter belt that he planted 38 years ago, and that's basically where I put the home, there. So that's kind of why I wanted to just talk about it today, to get your feelings on it or whatnot, because I really did love the property and I really did want to kind of move forward. But I just want to get your feelings on the acreage and if that would be a possibility. I'm a school counselor, so I don't have a ton of money, but I'm a saver, and so that's where it is a very real possibility for me to do this, absolutely. But I just didn't want to waste that, over $4,000. Because it could happen within 4 weeks. I could be back in front of you, with that parceled out information, asking the same thing, but it would be a legitimate, ask at that point.
So there's no motion required tonight. I just told them that if you wanted to talk to you, here's your opportunity. So.
Thank you, Tim. It's a non-actionable item, so public information only. All right. Go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say, I guess I would tell you that, you have the right to do what you want, but I would be very concerned about us right now, because as far as, at least 2 of us up here are thinking that this, we're looking at the bigger picture and seeing what could, and we just don't know. So I think it's his decision, Mayor, but I think you're not going to get anything from us, I don't think, sorry, but you're going to have to decide on your own, I think, is the deal.
Thank you both. As stated earlier, item number 5 has been pulled from the agenda. We'll move on to the city administrator's report. Ina?
Good evening, Commissioners. I don't have a whole lot on here. It's kind of a chopped up week for everybody, but we will be sending out notices to you guys to get your schedules for budget meetings. I know you're busy this week, so probably next week, just sit down with each one of you, go through the budgets, go through your specific departments that you've been set up as liaisons for, and just kind of talk through it. So those will be coming out. Right now, staff is working on their quarterly employee reviews. We implemented the new process last fall of doing them quarterly, just keep in touch with employees, set goals, make sure they're achieving their goals, so we're working on those. Wednesday, the 11th, there will be our next strategic planning meeting at Moore Engineering from 4 to 7. I'll be sending out reminders, or Courtney will help me send out reminders, and get information out to you pertaining to that. And then also I wanted to let you know on Saturday the 14th, the West Fargo Airport is having a fly-in and lunch from 12 to 3, and they've invited all of you to attend. I think they're having pulled pork. I know the last time they had the City Commission out to the airport, it was really fun. They did a really great job. It's amazing the things that go on out there that we don't even realize. So they would like to have all of you attend, so you can just let me know, and I will let them know how many are coming. Do you have anything for me? Okay.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
Correspondence? Anything? Before we adjourn the meeting, obviously this is the first public commission meeting that Eric and I and Brad have been a part of. And I just want to make a comment about our staff. We've been onboarded, I think is the term they used, and Mike and Mark were also a part of that. And they've all provided us with great access to information. They've been very receptive to helping us out, and other than not a real good judge of how long it might take in a given day, we started at 4 and finished after 11, and we were scheduled to be done at 7, but the staff did a wonderful job of sharing with us what they do and the important work that they do for the public. And so we're very grateful for all of you as staff of what you have given us in the last several weeks, particularly those of us, the 3 new ones. And obviously Mike and Mark have been aware of this for quite some time, of the job that you do. So we have great people and they do good work. And I also think it's appropriate that last Friday was a tragic event in our community, and I am so proud of the hard work that our fire department and our police department did in trying to resolve that tragic situation. Again, giving credit to the fine people that we have that work in City Hall. So with that, I'd hear a motion for adjournment. So moved. So moved by Commissioner Simmons. Is there a second? Second. Second by Brad. And moved and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. Have a wonderful evening and a happy and safe 4th.